Hello everyone, welcome back to Tech Bytes with Keshav. In this video, we will explore about APIs and then we will create a Maven project which will cover its various REST methods that it supports like get, put, delete, create and patch, right? And then bonus would be like you all will be getting that source code also along with the test cases, right? So uh, let's start with the APIs part first. So I will open my Postman. So before proceeding, if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe to it. Okay. So now if I talk about APIs, right? So it is short for application programming interface. I repeat, application programming interface. Now, uh, to make it understand, assume a scenario like you have hosted you have taken some cloud service and you have hosted some data over there, right? And then it's like user data only, right? And it ultimately stored in some database or things like that. So you uh, now you want to integrate that data and maybe perform some operations on that later in your application, right? Now I I, I believe it will be very risky to directly access that database by any application, right? So many concerns would be there. So now we will here we will be needing a medium intermediary that will be performing a request on our behalf. It may request maybe for to fetch a data, to update the data, to delete the data, right? So over here that intermediary or medium will be API, right? So that API, it has its various methods based upon which we can fetch the data, we can update the existing data, we can delete the data, right? And on top of that we can also create a new data, right? So here we will be focusing on REST APIs and its methods first. Now this has been understood that APIs, we have APIs that with which we can uh, using its various methods we can access the data or perform various operations. But for them also to perform or send the request and then server also to ascertain that it's a valid request is coming from a valid person, right? Not from anyone can request it and it will serve its entertain the request. That concept of access token will be coming, right? So I will try to explain it over like here. So now I have taken example from that publicly available that Go REST APIs. So let us say we have get users, right? So now as part this, I am using Postman over here, right? So now it will be like first we will discuss about that get method. So as we can see over here, it is a get method. Other methods could be like this. Now if we talk about this API part, we it is like in human case also we have if you want to locate something, or if you we or in machine part also if we want to locate someone. So it is like we must be knowing its address. For humans it's a postal address, and right, and in machine it's a IP address, things like that, right? So here in APIs also we have an address for that which we call it as endpoint, right? So it may be combination of so many things, like we have first base URL, right? Then the endpoint that we are trying to reach, and then we have certain other parameters. Now I will cover those in a while, but these are usually we call it as like query parameters after question mark and separated by an ampersand sign. Okay. So let us say this is a base URL go-rest.co.in. This is what HTTPS is a scheme we call, right? Scheme it is, and then this is a common path, and this will be the endpoint that we want to ultimately reach out to get users. this is the endpoint users. It may be for post also, it may be for some other also, means create also, but this will distinguish that here we are designated that this endpoint we need it for get operation. Get means to fetch the data. Now, as it has been told that we can't, anyone can't just hit the API and get the data. We must need some authorization and authentication purpose, right? So for that authorization, it will be like we will be needing an access token. In certain cases, mostly it will be happening that there will be a separate endpoint that will be used, and that will give us an access token, which may be valid for, let's say, 15, 30, or 1 hour, right? But in certain cases, they may provide us with an existing API token, which may be valid for some, say, 90 days or 6 months, things like that. So various operate at various have strategies for generating access token or providing an API token, having a different lifetimes, right? So here for Go REST, I have used this already provided token. So now to authenticate any endpoint, we will be requiring this header. It may be different in case of different API endpoints. We may need to refer to the official documentation, but generally it is like header will be authorization, header key name will be authorization, and then value will be bearer, and then space access token value. In my case, now this I have used it like in this form, so that I have defined these values in environment case, where this is, we have it over here, environments. I have defined it over here, environments. And this is why, because for each endpoint, various endpoints will be using these values, and typing it again will be a not a good approach. So defining it one and using it like this, double braces opening, and then variable name, and then like closing. So base URL we have, endpoint we have, get request we have, authorization we have, and then bearer token, and then this. Now it will be like we can send the request and get the data. Mostly when we have that is not a single user, but it's a users. So it may be paginated case. Paginated means the all complete data. Let's say we have 1 lakh users. Now getting 1 lakh users in a go will be very exhaustive, or performance overhead. From performance overhead perspective, it will not be a good thing. So we can get a paginated data. Let's say in each call we may get that 100 users in, and subsequently we may proceed further, right? So likewise it will be. So now we have to define it over here. The next step would be that what will be the, in each page size, what will be the page size in each call, what will be the records that we are going to fetch, number one. And number two, if we have fetched the page for first page, now for next which page we want to fetch the data. So now we can specify it using a query params, right? So these are the query params. We are defining it over here. So as we can see here, we have defined it like per page 100 and page number 1. So likewise it may we can go until we have an empty response. So right now we have response where we have records. This is denoted by an array, JSON array, right? And this is denoted by JSON object. So inside this JSON array ending at this, so we have various records. Each record is denoted by a JSON object, right? So ultimately in this case, when let us say right now it is page number 1, and let us say if we I hit it at page number 20. So likewise if we can make it like page number 2, 3, and 4, 5 things likewise, and it will give you the next set of records. And let us say ultimately if we reach out to we can reach out when there are no records, it will be denoted by this. And then we have a response API. They do have response codes also. If the token is not valid, we may be getting authorization problem is there, we may be getting 403 forbidden. And usually when the response is okay, we may be getting, usually we get 200 okay response. is for get, and post and delete, and for then it may be different. These query params also may be different. So for each endpoint, detailed things for authorization, base URL, endpoint, request method, query params, right? We may need to refer to that official documentation, right? So this was about for get users, and for a particular user also, till here we have already discussed about get users, and then for a particular user, let's say we over here we have each user was having some ID, right? This ID. Now we want to fetch a detail for this particular user. Let us say Amit, name is Amit22. So we will paste that over here, right? See, now there will be no JSON array, only one record. Amit22, we got it, right? No query params. For a single record, there should be no query params can be there, but there will be no query params related to pagination, because it's a case of single fetching a single record, right? And then these were the two for get users and user. Now we may need to update that user also, right? So let us say for update, now for update we may use put method of as part of REST API or patch, but there is a difference and we must carefully choose between these two, right? So it may be like put is like we are sending back the entire record for updation, means even if one field has to be updated, we will be sending entire record. Rest maybe with the similar old values only, and one with one key maybe with the one or two keys maybe with the new value updated values, but entire record has to be updated, else it might be a scenario like accidentally other fields may be assigned with a null or empty values. So input case we may have to consider like entire record has to be sent back, right? Now if we really want to update only one, let us say for a particular record, like user, we want to update only email, we may prefer patch also instead of sending the entire. So like for example, for this particular user having an ID of this, we may want to update a email, we may prefer a patch over here, right? It is denoted by like this, patch. But again, we need to check it out, the official documentation, whether patch is available for update or not, right? So now if we talk about here, we earlier discussed about get get users and get user. Now as part of this update, we may have this put and then or patch. Now generally these they expect a body also. We can denote them using a body also. We can term it as a payload also. So it will be coming as part of this. Earlier we saw about params. Now we will be at body. Body also mostly for REST APIs, JSON is acceptable. So we will be coming over here like raw, and then we will be making it as JSON, and then this will be the payload, right? So next would be creating a user. It is update a user, we saw it. Now next is create a user. And I must say it like for official documentation, we should also refer for this response codes also. We should not believe that 200 will be coming in all the scenarios, right? It may differ. So we may need to check it. Complete official documentation should be referred before implementing any endpoint, right? So now for create, usually it is a post request, right? And then same. Now in update, in get single user, as part of this here, we mentioned ID of the user for which we want the details. Update case also, we have applied the mentioned same. So now this is called as not query parameter, this is called as path parameter. Query parameter would have been if we have passed it over here as in form of key value, right? But here it's a path parameter. Now for create, now we are trying to create a new user. Certainly we will not be having an ID of that user. System will create that record and will return us with an ID, right? So let's see. So now till here same post, and then we have, let's try it out, like we will create this record, no ID, and then see whether it is returning us the record back with an ID generated. Yes. And see the API response code also. It's 201, right? So now if we will, now we created this record, and if we will get this record, it's Keshav 23, okay? We got Keshav 23, right? Making sense? Okay. So next, now we created this record Keshav 23 with a ID ending with 65. Let's delete it now. Earlier we get user was working fine with that. We just have like this. We got the record, we got 200. Now if you try to delete it, same method will be delete. No body or payload, right? Authorization, yes, will be there as part of headers. We can mention it. Let's try to delete it. Yes, deleted, and in deletion case, it might happen that there is no response body, but based upon response content, API response code, we can assume it. So it's 204 success for delete part, and then it is deleted. Let's see whether if we try to delete it again. Oh, we got 404 resource not found. That was expected because we just deleted that. Now if it's 404. Now if we try to get that again user back, which we deleted, here also we are getting 404. Everything is at sync, right? So this was all from that Postman collection part about that various. Now, yes, authorization we have covered. Now here for pagination, we may have different scenarios, maybe different APIs may be supporting or different pagination strategies. It may be like offset based or page based, which we discussed right now, right? It may be cursor based. So at last we may be we may be getting some cursor value over here at after this just before this JSON array is ending up, right? So that cursor value, there may be key over here that we have to specify, and then value, and then to get the next set of records. And then it may be like next link, we may be getting a next link. So next link we will be getting, and then we can use that key with a key combination, or as instructed we can use that. So there will be no manual intervention to increment this page number every time until we have an empty record, just like we saw over here, right? Empty array. So that can be also considered, right? Okay. Now I believe we have an idea of what is an API, various methods, and overview of the same. Now let's quickly deep dive into project and then incorporate all these APIs and see whether we are getting that app data using a Java application also. Okay. So as a time saver, I have already created this project, but I will explain it each and everything step by step. Right. So it should be no worries on your part. Okay. So now we can easily create a new Maven project. It should be like this: create new and then project. We can name the project. We can define the location. Right. Over here it should we can define the Maven, and then we can have that JDK that we want to use. right? Once that project is created, right, it should be like having this entry point at src main java. Then under that we have to create these packages, like we can like company based packages or organization, like we can create it like first I created com, then inside com I created that user management, right? So it's not com dot user management single, it's a two different packages. So if you talk about over here reference, so we can see that it's com then / user management. It's not com dot things. So don't get confused. These are two different packages over here. Right. So inside this, these com dot user management. So we have this exception utility, we have exception package. So we have other package and certain classes, and we by default this resources packages package will be there. Test we will cover later. Now over here we may be needing for this application which is of user management, there will be one entry point. Let us say we have an entry point as this user connector, right? The request will come to this, and then based upon the request the flow will proceed and will perform the required operation. So all the required operations that could be done are defined over in this class user client. So let's first have a look over here. So now over here we have get users implemented, right? So over here we have implemented get user also. Please don't worry, I will explain you each line by line like I said. So over here we have it delete user also, we have create user also, we have update user also, and now here the implementation part, and likewise we will be needing URL and request to that can be executing get the data. So all those URL preparation and request preparation stuff is handled in this class request builder, right? So first let's discuss about this get users. Now get users we talked about that it will be a paginated call, that in each page there will be certain number of records, those will be fetched, and then subsequently we will be getting complete set of records in paginated way, right? And then finally when we will make a call which will be having when no records will be returned, in that case we can assume that there are no further records, and then we will uh, stop the processing or making further API calls. Now this was theoretically as per pseudocode practice. Now trying to implement it, as we have to perform certain operation again, like we have to make a API call again, though URL, query param, page number will be different, right? So now over here we will be using we can use for loop also, but we have to define it like we earlier we used to initially define the number of iterations. So I believe over here do while can help us in a better way, right? So I have implemented. So now we can use while also, but while is also expecting a condition in the beforehand. So do can be used over here, so that at least once it has to be executed, once API call has to be made, right? So now like we discussed in our previous videos, right, about that we should use try with resources. So I have again used that try with resources. So now making an API call. Now again in our previous video, right, we discuss about yes, in previous videos we discuss about this using HTTP client provider. So I have defined it over here. So we yes, in our previous video we discussed about that connection pooling, right? So why to create a new client, HTTP client, for making an each and every call. So we can define it like this, have a class and define it, and then certain optional parameters would be there, although they might be having they usually have default values also if not provided. So and then we can use it over here. Now if I come over here, so now we can discuss a bit about here also. Client we have defined. Now we can, now over here, one thing to emphasize over here will be, before trying to explain the making and call, would be consider a scenario like in APIs we do have throttling also. Throttling is a concept. Now let us say a bot is there, robot is there, which is trying to making a call so frequently to a particular. Then the system will be, it will be may have too many frequent calls, right? We may have denial of service attack or things like that. Now to prevent all these, there are limits applied on an API that how many calls to a particular endpoint we can make in a particular fraction of time. It may be in seconds, it may be in minutes, it may be uh, like in a interval, right? So now let us say we are getting that paginated data. Let us say that paginated data will require 1,000 calls to be made, 1,000 pages to be it will be data is scattered as per a page size that it will be needing 1,000 calls to get the data. Now let us say, how about that if after 100 pages we get a throttling message. Let us say that we have to wait for certain time before making a next API call. So should we end the process over here and return it back as a failure? Certainly no. That will not be from scalability and production ready code and scenario. So over here we have to wait for that particular time frame and then try to reattempt that make call again back to get the data which was not, which from where it was paused, right? Now these APIs, they have usually a code to specify that it's a too many requests we have made, and now we should wait for certain seconds or minutes before making the next request. Now that API response code is generally 429. Again, it may differ from API to API, so please refer to the official documentation for the same. But generally, it is 429. So now here it may happen that we can uh, implement a retry mechanism over here that can be exponential. Exponential means first wait for 15 seconds, then wait for, let us say, 45 seconds, then wait for, let's say, 1.5 seconds, and then after 3 4 5 or 4 to 5 intervals, if still we are getting this, then either we need to change the behavior over here in the code, or we have to find a means, we have to inculcate a change over here to satisfy that. If someone is expecting that if 4 to 9 is there and then we have to wait for at least 2 minutes, then we can go for that. If certain API is requiring it for 1 minute, then we can apply a common class as a exponential, that first retry after 1 minute, then second after 2 minutes. It will be like exponential. So now that has been defined as part of this class. Retry interceptor, I created this class, right? And it will be implementing interceptor, which will be having methods and declarations which we need to intercept, which we need to implement, right? So over here, generally what we say that API 500, it's internal server error, we usually don't put that also in that retry mechanism or waiting mechanism, but we usually put like 4 to 9 is there, so I have put it over 4 to 9 code. If any more code is required, we can put that also over here, right? So in case, so now this will return us with an HTTP client with retry interceptor already linked to it. And then coming back to this, over here we got that client which will use to make the request. Now is the request that has to be executed. Client is ready, that has to make the request. Now what has to be executed? We need that. Now that it will give us get users request. Now in each iteration, see, we are increasing the page size. Page size will remain the same, let us say 100 or like that. But in each iteration, we have to increment the page number, right? So this we are doing initially it was 1, and inside this while and before closure we have this plus plus, so incrementing it page. Now let's see the how the request is getting generated. Over here it will be like, first it will be the URL. Now URL will, it will be getting it like this, base URL. Now base URL will be, now we it might happen that we might have some as part of config file we have defined these variables like host to use and things like that. So in resources I have defined this scheme HTTP, this base URL we saw, this will be as host. Port number is required for testing, not for here, so it's a null in this case. So now we have, once we have these values, again this line might change, or this mechanism of fetching the config values might change from application to application, I would say. I have given you just an generic view that it might come as a config file, might come as a in JSON format and as part of that resources folder. So how to fetch that and then fetch the config values. Now and scheme, I have pasted this scheme host and host, and then if port is not null, then it will be pasting port also over here. So this will not, but this will be for production base, it will not might not be applicable, but for test cases it should be applicable. So to make it generic, right, I have added this as part of if, right? So we will see when test package also there will be config file which will be having a port number. So we will come to that later, right? So once we have this base URL as part of which will be needed for get users, so we will be adding it. First we will be adding this common path. So let us say it is like get users over here. Till here we have got it. So now we need public and v2, these things. So this forward slash it will be automatically added. So now it will be like common endpoint path, public v2. Then as it is get users, so we have to add this also. Now segments is there. This is I'm using OK HTTP. See, segments is there and segment is there. Segments, it can be like one or more forward slashes can come. So like if I have public oblique v2 in segment, it should not have those more than one it should not have any forward slash, only one path, sub path. So it is like users only, right? Now we added certain query parameters also over here, per page and per page 100, let's say it's a page size and page number. So now page size we will be page number will be dynamic as part of that do while loop, right? So we have this page, and then we have this page size will be coming per page how many. So it will be have defined a constant over here 100 and build, right? So ideally we should log this at a debug level. So we have done it. So now for just for testing purpose, I printed this sout statement also, but I should not ideally this should not be part of production code, this sout statement. Now once the request is having this URL, then we need to add to this request a header which is with the name of as authorization, and then it is like bearer space and then access token we have to provide it, right? So over here two scenarios can happen. Either if we have a access token API key available, right, which may be valid for let's say 3 months or 4 months, and we have provided as part of config parameter of that application, so we can directly as we pick it up from the config and paste it over here. Other case, certain APIs will be requiring access token to be generated. Then over here we have to call that particular method, say get access token. That will return us the return value of home will be a string containing the access token, and we will paste it over here, right? So we have to consider both the scenarios as applicable for that API. Once we have that request, user's request containing the URL, right, with query parameters, then header, authorization header also, I think we have the request ready. So now we have the client ready, which is eager to make the request. Now we have that uh, request ready to be executed, and then finally we will call it execute method, which will give us a response body, API response. And be careful, we have putting all these things into try block only. Means try not like this block over here. It is try with resources. The moment it will, this scope will be gone, these will all automatically lose its scope. So memory will be lost for these. So this will certainly prevent that memory leakage problems and like that. Now we have made a request, and then we have a body, response body. Now it might be it should be returning a API response code. Based upon that, we have to uh, proceed with the flow, right? For get operations, we saw generally it is like 200 only. So ideally we should print this also at a debug level, right? So we have printed it. Next would be whether the API response body is null or not null. Again, in case of deletion, it is if it is null, yes, we might throw an error depending on the scenario. But here in this case, it should ideally not be a null. So if it is a null, so we can throw an exception. I've created this customized exception as part of this, just like this, extending from exception and then like this, right? Definitely, you will have a source code available to explore all these things and grasp this easily. So now, once we have the response code, once the body is not null, we will figure it out that response code it will be anyhow available, so we can print it out. If body is not null, then we can fetch out that API response. Now, if the response code is 200, that means now the body is also not null. Response code is also 200. That means if things are in favor of us, we have got the requisite data, right? So now earlier in our previous video, uh, yes, in our previous videos we discussed about that how to pass the response using that Pojo and then Google JSON. So same, I have again used that Google JSON, right? So API response. Now this I created it like Pojo over here, user, like this. So I have not used any serialized name annotation over here because that was not required. Already we have there is no camel case, and we don't actually need it over here, right? So that has been omitted. So now we have the response should be coming over here, and then again this is for just for testing over here. It will be printing, but actually in production, SOut should not be part of production code, right? So now in each iteration this will be assigned with the users that we have got, and then all the in each iteration user fetched will be added to all users. Now all users, we have a list created over here, and then we will add those user fetched in all users. So let us say it will be 100, then again next also 100, so it will be like 200 next time, then 300, 400, so likewise. Now in pagination case, there might be a scenario like we are fetching a record, we are fetching the data, right? And which might be happening like in between that token expired. In this case, it might not expire because this is an API token which might be valid for say 90 days or 6 months, right? But what about that access token? It might expire after 15 minutes, it might expire after 30 minutes or 1 hour, right? So over there also we can't return the flow, right? So we have to, like our 429 throttling error, we can't return the flow as a failure. It is not a good practice. In that case, we will never get that data. So likewise here also, if there is a huge amount of data, there is a certainty that token expiration may happen. So over there we have to, and it is usually denoted by 401, right? Again, check the official documentation for the exact code, but usually 401. And then in that case also we have to instead of returning it as a failure, we have to regenerate the token over here. Now again, that method, if we have defined over here, get access token, would be coming over here. And then yes, again we have to sorry, in that case we have to what we say that this as part of this user request, right? So now again get token will be there, generated will be there. And then we have to make it sure that for next iteration, as part of this, if it is like using it like access token, so it should have the latest token. We have to code it like that, right? Okay, making sense. So now if this will be the scenario, we have to get a new token, and then request which should be, then again next request should be made, right? Users request, then it should be with a new token. And then if apart from 200, apart from 401, see 401, it won't be appearing in the first scenario. We just came into this method, and then 401, it should ideally it will not happen. In certain iterations you will be making it, then certain data will be fetched, and then if the data is huge, then it might happen that 401 should coming. And then at last, if it is like it's not 200, it's not 401, it might be something else, like it might be 500 internal server error, it might be 503 service not available, right? Yeah. So in that case we have to return the actual API response, right? So now, and now we have to do all this in which, when we have to all do all this. Now in each iteration, the number of users or users fetched are assigned to this array, right? So now we have it like users in each iteration while users dot length is greater than 0, right? So even if we in each any iteration it fetched 1, that means it will make another call. Next time it made a request and then fetch size is 0, it will come out of this loop and then print out this total users and return all users, right? Okay. Okay, so now let's see whether this is working as expected. Now we have discussed it theoretically and line by line. So now this code I will be using in some while. This will be as per production ready production means when we are pushing it to a particular, deploying this connector, I would say, or this application to a particular system, then it will be helpful. But for testing purpose right now, we can use this piece of code, right? So request builder instantiated that user management client, and then let's try it out this. So over here we have user management client dot get users. So we have it will be calling this get users. Let's see what will happen now. Okay. Okay. So now total users fetch 1475. Let's see the working. First iteration URL is page number 1, page size 100, fetch 100. Next time page 200, page 300, likewise it went. And then in last iteration, second last iteration, page number 15, at page size 100, 75 were fetched, right? Page number 16, 0 was fetched. It came out of loop in that case, and then we have total fetch 1475, right? So this worked as expected. Okay. Now let's try to explore get user now. Now we saw in get users, there is no particular user ID appended to this endpoint. But in get user, we have to provide this ID also. And it will be a non-paginated call. Only one single call has to be there, right? So let's see. So this function will accept an parameter named as ID, right? Again, client will be there with retry, and then get user request we have to see now. Get user URL common, it will be like this. Base URL will remain the same. Then users endpoint will be there. What extra needs to be added over now is ID, user ID, right? So that has to be added. It will print out this, and then we have that you. Then as part of that request, we need to add that token for authorization purpose, right? So that API, that server should be understand that request is coming from a legitimate person, right? Now again, covered as part of try with resources. So we have this. So we have response body also, response code, and then we are checking it out whether body is null or not null, right? So if the body is not null, we are fetching the response, and then if the response code is 200, again what we expected as a good scenario, right? So we fetch that user using that JSON and then Pojo, right? So one thing to iterate in user's case, it was like we used it like this way. Get users initialized like this way, array, right? So over here we will, as it's a single user, we will use it like this, and then so in certain cases over here it might happen that response is coming with a JSON array which is having a key. So you can please refer to our previous videos. So in that case, it would be defined how to fetch the data in that case also. So now we have this user coming over here, so we can directly fetch it, and if we can, this is for testing, so we can directly return that back that user. Another case which is the user is response is not 200, we can print the API response, right? So we where response is null, we can print that also. So let's see whether this is working as is expected or no. So this is a case of get a particular user. Now here we have this particular user. Now let's first check as per Postman, what's the username. So it should print Keshav, right? So let's see what it has to print now. So we got the result as expected. User ID got appended. We have fetched username as Keshav. So get users is also working fine, and get single user is also working fine, right? So now we have to see for to delete that particular user. So let us say in Postman we saw that for deleting a user also we will be needing ID as part of path parameter of the user which has to be deleted, right? So now if we talk about this implementation, it will be expecting an ID that we are as a function parameter, and then delete user request, delete user URL, common, user endpoint, this and this. Now you will say that thing that it is all altogether same, like get single user and then delete, all same. But what's changing over here is, as part of get user and delete is this method name. It will be now delete. Instead of get user, it will be get. Same way we have to tell them over here also. So we will be telling it over here. In case of get user, it was get over here. But delete case, it we dot delete has to come over here. Big difference. So with this, we can differentiate the request, though the URL is same, right? Now we have the request, we have the client, we made the request, executed the request, we have the response body, response code, body not null. Now in deletion case, if it's like 204, like we saw over here, so in delete case, so happy scenario will be 204. Again, might change as per the API, depends upon API to API. So we can print it out user deleted with using loggers, right? And then return it from. And if the response is not 204, we can print the API response in the logging and then throw an exception, right? So let's see whether this is working as expected or no. So we have this particular user. So if we try to fetch it, okay, so okay, it's not found. We will try it out with someone else. Let's try it with this user. '82 Amit. Now let's provide that over here. It should be okay. Let's see. See, the URL same as get user, but user deleted with ID 82, ending with 82. Let's try to hit it back. Oh, we got 404. That means that user was actually deleted, right? So next would be, now generally getting the data is get API calls, they don't have any payload or body. And delete, I would say, depends, but generally they also don't have that payload or body, right? If they're, and then now in case of update an existing record or creation of a new record, uh, ideally they both have that request body for, right? In both the, because in both the scenarios we will be needing the data that has to be updated or that has to be created. So now let's see the case of create user first. Now this create user will be expecting a create a Pojo. Now see, now client is ready, create user request. Now we have to create a URL of this, base URL, common, then users, and then this will be like same. Now it will be having a, it will be a post request. We have to mention it like this, and now it will be like yes, now we will be needing a payload also for the same to make that request. So now a payload we can create it like this way. Now Pojo we got it Pojo. I will tell you how we got it. We got the Pojo, and then we have it like we will convert it to JSON to JSON, serialize the data. We will get the JSON string, and then we will pass it. We have to create a request body with JSON media type of this application JSON, right? Now we have this payload ready. Now we have create user request ready. Now we will execute it. Now we have this body and response code. Now in creation of a request new user, ideally it should be like as per this API, it will be returning 201. Again, can differ. So once we have 201, we can have that created again. It is a create user request, so definitely we will not be passing any ID. It will return us, system will return us upon creation of a new record, right? So now the user created, we passed it using Pojo, JSON and Pojo, and then the ID we will printing, and then all that other scenario if the response is not okay, and then it is now response is null. So now, as part of this, how to be created Pojo, let's examine that now. We set an email to this, let's say 225, okay. And then see, we have not provided an ID to this create, but now we will be providing this only Pojo to this as part for this function, which it is needing. Let's see. But still we will get, upon creation of record, we will get an ID back. Again, request will be like this. Payload will be C, JSON string payload. This we passed in form of Pojo. Then we converted it using JSON to JSON. We serialized it and converted it as a JSON string. So this is the JSON string that got printed. Right, it is like name we passed like this, email passed it like this, gender we passed it like this, status we passed it like this, user created with ID 989 ending with 893. Whether, let's see whether this is this name of the user Amir225 in Postman. Let's verify it. Yes, fine. So this was about creating a user. Now we have created a user, right? So now let's try to update that user. Again, update will also be needing that Pojo. So here we have to be careful about which one to use, put or patch, like we discussed earlier. If you have only one field to be updated, we can go for patch. Entire record has to be updated, we can go for put. But depends upon whether which method is available. REST API method is available. That also we have to consider. Now, it is like, let's keep everything same apart from email. Now, let's change the email to added one more zero to it. But as it's an update case, we have to provide ID also. So we will provide it like this. Rest everything will remain the same. So till now it is like email is 225. With this change, it should be 2250. Right. So let's once have a look to this update case also. Client is ready. Update user request. Now, as part of this Pojo ID we are passing, we will pass it to further to this update user request. It will prepare it like this, right? And then it will be having a payload also. So we will be like JSON string, right? So like this, and then it's ready to make the request. We will make that request, and then response code will be there, and then body, if it is not null, the response code it is like 200, and then we can say that user updated with ID like this, and if it is not 200 we can say the API response, and then if it is null we can print that, right? So now let's come back to here. So let's see whether after doing all this, whether the email of this particular user is getting updated from 225 to 2250. Let's see that. So it is saying that this is the endpoint path, and then user payload. This what we provided. Email we provided with now 2250, right? So it is saying user updated with ID 893. Let's verify in Postman. Till now 225. Now again I will try to hit it. So now we are getting 2250. So it really got updated, right? So this was, and for this also we should be writing this like a complete stack trace for the exception part also. Just a small thing here also. This is for only for testing, not for production uh, commit, I would say. Now this all we have discussed it about using for testing. We have used this main method and like that. But ideally in production code, it will be like, it can be like this. This will be the entry class, and now we will cover this thing. Entry class, we have this user client defined, this one. Now this is instantiated, and then it will be calling this. This is getting instantiated, and it will be needing this. We will be calling get users, user client. Ultimately, it will be calling user client dot get user, user client dot get user, ID, delete, and then create user. Similarly, update user. Right. So now, but this we can test it using deploying. But we have already tested this using this as part of this main method, static main method as an entry point. Though not for this production this piece of code commented on. Now we can test this piece of code using test cases. What we discussed about in the initially, that test cases will also be part of this video, right? So let's see those test cases now. They will be separate package already defined as test Java, and then we have to define those two packages com and com and then user management as per the scenario over here, right? So now it will be having its own config file. This is a one scenario, I would say, right? This config parameter again, config things again will change. How to fetch and where is it located will change from application to application, right? So for demonstration, I have put it over here in resources config. Now some sample responses I have put it over here. Like in paginated data, first time it will give us one record, and it will second time it will give this another record, and third time it will give us empty, right? So if it's the request, if the request is to get a particular user, it will return us like this, right? So let's see whether all these things they are test the functionality using now test cases. Now test cases also we can create this wiremock server, right? So it might be having certain methods like uh, before annotated with before each, like before running each test case, after running each test case, right? So here we likewise we are testing like get users, right? So likewise we are testing get user, we are testing get delete user, and we are testing create user, and at last we are testing update user. This small piece of code to fetch the data from this resources package, right? Now let's first talk about this. Now over here we have defined it like it will get the config details over here also. Now wiremock server will be needing, as we initially discussed, production code may not be needing that port number, but wiremock server it will be needing a port number. So we have defined it over here. So as part of this config, we defined a hard-coded port number 50,000, right? And then we have scheme instead of HTTPS over here we have to use HTTP, right? Because for HTTPS as part of testing we have to make certain amendments, so those can be complex. So I think we can go for HTTP. I think no one should complain about for these. So host in this case will be like local host, not the actual URL. Local host we have to make, then port number, and ultimately it will make it like HTTP colon localhost, and then it will be like HTTP colon forward slash localhost, and then colon 50,000. It should be like this, right? Now once we have all these things ready, prerequisites I would say, now we can mock it like this. Then when it is a case of page 1, page size 100, Then we have to return users. By default, when nothing, no status code is there, then it will return 200, right? So when it is like page number 2, then return this, right? When it is like page number 3, then return 3, empty users array. Now we saw that this is also having one record, this is also having one record, this is having empty. So ideally, when we will test it out this, so we can test it each line by line also. Like we can say that if we run it over here, then it will go it over here, and then it will actually be coming over here. Let's see that. So it will be like this. So this is an integration test, so it will be reaching it over here also. But if we have added a debugger, it will go into this, else we can see that. Uh, see, we have added a debugger. Let's see. So what's the URL now? It's for get users. Localhost 50,000 public v2 users, page 1, and this. And let's see what's the API response. So retry also. Integration test is complete end to end, starting from the where the request is received until the response is not returned back or the operation has not been completely done. So from start to finish, everything it will check the flow. So now retry interceptor also, the debugger is there and it checking over here. Now it's 200, so it will it will not what we say that uh, it is defined that 4 to 9 case will be if 4 to 9 then go into this block and go for a retry. It's 200, it will not go over here, right? So it will come over here at path as part of get users, and then we have that get users. So if I try to now do it F8 function F8, so we have one users coming over here, Amit 22, right? So let's try to do it again over here, again second call, then we have it over here. So let's come to here. So now earlier it was Amit 22, now this time it's Gotham, and now once this is done, so now till here it is having count of 2, right? So now again we will test it out, page number 3, right? So now again it got added. Now what's this? Now it's an empty, right? So now at this point it has to break. So let's see what it has to do. This while condition, it is now empty. So now it came out of it. And let's see total number of users are how much. We have total 2 users to be returned, and then when it will return back to here, expected 2, total 2, likewise, right? Now for particular user, we will say when this is the scenario, then return this user.json. So when get user, we will pass an ID, and then let's see for the here also, let's see whether it's working as expected. So now we got 200 for this also. So now this user has to be returned. Now this user, whether it's Amit only, yes, Amit 2 only, right? So now let's see, return it back. So now name should be Amit 2. Yes, it was Amit 2. So this test case also passed, right? Delete scenario. If this is the case, yes, this is the case, then it should return 204. Like we discussed, generally this will return 200, but if it's a change, we need to mention it explicitly, right? Now, one thing to note over here is that Test cases usually they do need an assert statement. One assert statement should be there, right? But now delete user will not return anything, right? So if we say that this is delete user, it is returning void, but still one assert has to be there. But if we think in delete user, what we have coded, that if the response is not okay, not 204, then return a failure in form of exception. So if this is a scenario, as per this success case, there should be no exception. So we can define it like assert does not throw any exception. So when calling this, so we will call this now like this. Let's see whether the response is 204 or no. Okay. Yes, it's 204, right? So now it has to return gracefully. Yes, no error exception was thrown, so this test case passed, right? Now, for creation and updation, we discussed that we will be needing a payload, right? So this payload we created in form of JSON string, right? It can be like from we can create it like that way also. User pojo and user dot set this, and then JSON to JSON, and then it will give us this, like this. So I have directly used that, copied from that postman and pasted it over here. So it automatically intelligent enough to make these changes. So we can go for this way also. So and now we have to return 201 now, and user which created that also. Again, the user that we want to create, we are passing each and every field apart from ID that it will return, right? So let's see. Now it returned this with ID also with there, right? So now it will return gracefully. No exception was thrown. Yes. Then we have is update case. Update also, we will be updating this particular. It will return the updated record, and then payload I prepared it like this, and no exception will be thrown. One assert has to be there. So let's see. Yes, 200 returning. So that means it got updated. So no exception. Yes. So test cases also, we have unit test cases, we have integration test cases, and clients they do insist for integration test cases because those will be covering end-to-end testing will be there, right? If to let's say if we have to perform the function, perform a certain task, and all those functions, let's say they are not as in the part of same class, they might be residing in a 3 or 4 classes, but in unit test cases we usually test one class in a go. For other classes we usually go for mocking, but in case of integration test, complete end to end, all those like we saw over here, user connector was tested, user client was tested, request builder was tested, retry interceptor was tested, right? So nothing was left, everything was tested. So clients they do insist for this, and we should have this integration test case also as part of our test plan, right? So this was all about this session. I hope you liked it, and so if you have any doubts, you can please comment, post your doubts in comment section, right? So yeah, you can like the video, share it, and then yeah, stay connected for more videos like this. Till then, yeah, take care. Thank you. Bye.